As many Americans struggle to pay rising health insurance premiums, a CBS News investigation has uncovered a scheme that could make those premiums go even higher. It raises costs for insurers who could then pass that increase along to you. Here's Jim Axelrod tonight.
What we're trying to accomplish here is bring big city healthcare to little town USA.
George Perez is CEO of Empower Group, a Miami-based healthcare company that claims to specialize in saving rural hospitals.
We've gone to these towns and basically some of them we bought out of bankruptcy or they were just days before closing.
But one of the hospitals Perez promised to save in the Florida Panhandle is now shut down and boarded up.
The hospital was in significant financial trouble in April of 2015.
Feels like The Shining in here.
Attorney Michelle Jordan represents that hospital, Campbellton Graceville, which was days away from closing when Perez and his partners swooped in.
Were you thinking to yourself, what's in it for them?
Yes. And how in the hell did you find Graceville, Florida?
Perez and associates agreed to pay off the hospital's debt and manage it for a fee of $30,000 a month. Jordan begged the board not to sign.
But the board was desperate.
They wanted their hospital open. These records were how the hospital submit for billing.
The hospital stayed open thanks in part to deals Perez made with drug testing laboratories all over the country.
What was attractive about this 25-bed facility in rural Florida?
The reimbursement rates.
To keep rural hospitals in business, insurance companies reimburse them for tests at much higher rates. A lab in Dallas might get $200 for a urine screen. The same test billed through a rural hospital, more than $1,000, which explains why George Perez struck deals with dozens of labs around the country to pass their testing through Campbellton Graceville and their billing along with it.
I can tell you what was actually funneled through the facility. And that was over $120 million in about 14 months.
What you're describing sounds fraudulent.
It sounds too good to be true.
The board finally came to the same conclusion and stopped the lab program. But that created new problems. On one side, dozens of labs claimed the hospital owed them millions. On the other, the insurance company said they'd been overbilled by millions. Squeezed in the middle, the hospital closed its doors after more than half a century.
I could have saved it if I would have been left, but I wasn't, that wasn't my hospital, it wasn't my contract, I didn't own it. I just went in there to do the billing and to provide technology.
Perez minimized his role at Campbellton Graceville when he spoke to us, so we showed him some of the lab contracts he signed.
I want to show you these documents, though, that I have.
Right.
The labs.
No, this is all forged.
That says George Perez, owner.
No, by the way, that's not even my signature.
Who forged those?
I'd love to get a copy of all this. I have no idea. I was never the owner. You can check in the state records. I mean,
So
this is all federal.
You never made any kind of arrangement with labs?
No.
According to bankruptcy filings, the hospital is trying to recover more than $3 million it claims Perez was wired fraudulently. And Graceville, Florida is now a community with no emergency health care.
If somebody needed some attention, where would they have to go?
They're going to have to drive 20, 30 miles.
20, 30 miles?
Yeah.
What if you're having like a heart attack?
Better start praying.
Remarkable to hear about. Jim, Jorge Perez owns more than a dozen other hospitals. Any issues there?
Well, we do know that Blue Cross Blue Shield in Oklahoma will no longer reimburse at 4 hospitals he co-owns there due to questionable billing practices with their lab program. In Missouri, a hospital he owns was audited, and it turns up $92 million generated by a lab program there. In the last 6 months, an increase of more than 2,300%. In our interview, Perez said he had no knowledge of those programs.
Our CBS News investigation continues. Jim Axelrod here tonight. Will be on as well tomorrow morning on CBS This Morning with much more on this story.